So, you're off to university. All of your hard work has paid off and you've got the grades that were required, or at least you've managed to scrape your way through clearing. The next 3 years of your life are laid out in front of you like a red carpet that leads directly towards success, wealth, and happiness. You'll have your mind expanded, your intellect enhanced, and most importantly of all, you're going to make lots of intelligent, like-minded friends. You'll form bonds that will last throughout your lifetime, and perhaps, if you're lucky, you could even find that person that you want to spend your lifetime with. You can't wait to go out with the business of forging a new and better you. You may have to put that on hold for a while, though. It's the first morning of Freshers Week and your head feels like a bomb's gone off in it, decimating your brain cells and leaving you feeling like there's a fight going on in your head as you try and recall what has happened to you and where in God's name you are. A faint rustling next to you confirms your deepest held fears. You have made a terrible, terrible mistake.
Oh, you're a doll.
Upon realizing your error, you make your excuses. Tell him that you aren't interested in anything too serious and that you'll probably see him about campus at some point, at the same time praying that you won't. He doesn't seem to be all that bothered, thankfully, and you slink away, only to hear him call after you, ominously.
You'll be back. They always come back.
You just need to get back to halls. Halls is great because it's like having 10 ready-made friends waiting to be socialized at. There's no way you can be alone when you're a massive institution, filled to the rafters with like-minded people who enjoy the same things as you. Unfortunately, it seems that everyone's become best friends with everyone else in your absence. In the matter of one night, it appears that there have been impenetrable bonds created between these former strangers, and these superhumanly sociable bastards already have inside jokes. All these people have already filled their quota of friends, and you would exceed the allotted amount. It appears you may not be the only loner there, though, and after a few more swigs of that vodka, you go and engage swarthy stranger in conversation. He seems like a thoroughly nice guy, apart from the fact that he will not stop going on about dead German blokes and his hatred of this other French drink called Bergerac or Bourgeois or something.
Is it good?
Well, I mean, it's quite clear that the main problem is the English proletariat's passivity.
You have no idea what he is on about, but you keep nodding. Besides, he is nice enough and nobody else here wants to talk to you.
Totally. I fucking hate Bergerac.
Oh.
That seemed to work. Maybe everything is going to be all right. You appear to have acquired a friend, and by the way he leans in and asks if you want to see the angles in his room, you may have discovered something more than that. As you settle into uni, you discover that it is all okay, really. You make some friends, figure out how the tube works, and spend a lot of time drinking because, as an English student, it turns out you only have to write about one essay a year. You also have a lovely lefty boyfriend. That's right, he showed you a lot more than his angles, and you showed a lot more than your ankles. He is smart, or at least says long words, and you like him. He is passionate and committed to the cause of the proletariat, and so are you. There's a lot of shouting, and it seems to make him happy. All you have to do is to avoid mentioning your father stood as a Tory councillor. You didn't want to be this way, but it's a calling, like a priest or a Jedi. You are fighting the good fight. Up the fucking workers! Eventually you go round to meet his parents, who have a fucking massive house in Anaga. It turns out it is not so much Marky Marxist as it is Marcellus, a name that has been in the family since they arrived with the Norman Conquest, as his ludicrously posh dad insists on telling you over and over again. After the mother shows you all the pictures of him playing polo for the first and dressing up in ludicrous hats at boarding school, you start to question the socialist credentials of a man who calls his mother. You're not sure if you're really into this Marxist stuff anyway. You begin to worry that perhaps it wasn't the best idea in the world to immediately latch on to the first person you properly met, and you're not sure if you really like him or Marx at all. After much careful deliberation, you decide that it's time to break up with him.
I'm really sorry, but this just isn't working. I just think that we're really different people, and we want really different things out of life, and that's just the way it is. I mean, I thought Bergerac was a drink. Is that okay?
Annoyingly, he doesn't seem all that bothered about it at all. And as someone tells you later on, he had his eye on Jennifer anyway, and saved him from having to give you the heave-ho, the fucking prick. You move on. It doesn't take much considering how much you hate the bell end. You're going to enjoy university a little bit more. It's as much about having fun as it is about work. You're going to go out with your friends. You're going to go out for dinner every now and again. And you're going to dance like no one is watching. And whilst you're out doing all these exciting things, you meet a man that we are going to call Massive Fucking Hedonistic Rugby Lad, because it's catchy. He seems like he is good fun, and he's a big hunky chunk of man flesh. Big boulder-like shoulders and a strong jaw. One thing leads to another. You've got yourself a brand new boyfriend, and you much prefer him to the old one. There's no going on about his strongly held views. He doesn't appear to have any, and he just wants to go and have a great time. The only problem being that you don't see an awful lot of him. He's a rugby player, and the training seems to take place often, and in the student bar. The training consists of a bunch of blokes in the same shirt shouting and insisting that the Zulu warrior gets it down him. When you do go out with him, you are confronted by his friends, who seem to speak only in misogynistic grunts, and the whole evening is like being stuck in a room full of horny, pubescent idiots.
It's just banter.
Like, because that's very much what it is. You know that he isn't the person that he is around his friends. But the two are becoming more difficult to separate. You start to notice all the little things that the love endorphins hid from you in the first flushes of your relationship. You begin to grow tired of the fact that he laughs every time he does a fart. The way he spends all his time on Lad Bible.
Lad.
And how he greets everyone as,
"You furry fucking cunt."
you begin to realise that watching a load of poor freshers drink your boyfriend's piss is probably not the way you want to spend your evenings. So, you know what you have to do, and this time you don't even have to build up that much courage to do it.
I'm really sorry, but this just isn't working. It's just that I don't get on with your friends, and you're really fucking awful!
Melon! Cut them out! Slag.
After that brief sojourn into the realms of total idiocy, you take it on yourself to try and avoid your latest mistake. This brings you to places like the library and lecture halls, all surefire ways to avoid him. As you begin to branch out into a more academic lifestyle, you join the strange underclass of university that is studious, occupationally ambitious, and a little bit weird. There's that girl that opens up her laptop and begins to sob silently. That boy who keeps trying to make eye contact with you, an attempt at a very primitive type of courtship that it is ultimately just really creepy. And then there is that guy with the dodgy taste in shirts who sits there muttering to himself.
How many sheds are there?
Amidst this dirge of humanity, however, you do stumble across interesting career-minded people. None more interesting nor more career-minded than James. He seems to be in charge of everything. You can't go to a society meeting without running into this bloke. You begin to wonder when he sleeps. You find out where he sleeps! Oh yes! You spend most of your time rotating between glitzy-ish student events, working hard on an array of different extracurricular interests, and just being in and around campus, forging a CV longer than all those books you haven't bothered reading. But you're also fucking knackered. All this traipsing around campus, campaigning for stuff that you didn't know existed, attending meetings that seemed to go nowhere, and basically just feeling unworthy in the face of all this brilliance that is chucked down your throat. Just look at him, with his perfect hair and his successful demeanour. Christ, you feel so irrelevant when compared to this unbelievable brilliance. It is nauseating just thinking about him. How does he have time to do all this? He must not sleep. How can he not sleep? He probably doesn't even defecate, because that would be too human for this bastard. God, you hate him. You hate his perfect bloody face and his perfect bloody life and his perfect body.
Hi, baby.
Hey, love. You ready for some hardcore leafleting?
Yeah. Can't wait.
Great. We've got to go now, though.
Yeah, no. Don't worry, that's fine.
Oh, well, that was never going to work out anyway. Soon you'd find out that you're only merely masquerading as a workaholic, and you're pretty sure that if you kept going, you would have been struck down by a heart attack. You don't need a boyfriend anyway. Every guy you meet seems to have some kind of horrific fucking defect, and you know you have enough of them to deal with yourself anyway. But you can't fight fate, and fate is about to drop half a glass of vodka lemonade.
So sorry.
Honestly, don't worry about it. I haven't washed these trousers in ages.
Could I get you another drink?
Yeah, if you're offering. Thanks.
He's a bit of alright. Nice face, dressed normally enough, doesn't appear to have any immediately obvious deficiency. And as he buys you another drink, you probe further, and it doesn't seem that he has any at all. It turns out he does the same course as you, and he seems genuinely interested in your theories of the colonial ideas implicit in T.S. Eliot's works. He is good looking, funny, and most important of all, he is happy within his own skin. He doesn't drink until he falls down in a pool of vomit and regret. He doesn't take himself too seriously. He also has a lot of time for the two of you. You love talking to him, and he loves talking to you. He doesn't have any real pretensions, and doesn't want to change the way he is, and his self-assuredness is beginning to rub off on you. You feel like yourself for the first time since you arrived in this place.
Would you like a coffee, love?
Oh, yes, please. I need to procrastinate as much as possible before going to the library.
Despite all the obvious plus points, you can't help but think that there is something wrong with him.
I can tell you what's wrong with him. He doesn't bloody exist.
The problem with trying to be yourself at university is that no one knows what that actually means. Our Marxist may find he's not quite the young Lenin he believes he is. A rugby lad may find that the lifestyle just isn't quite to his taste. As for our brilliant workaholic, well, we've got to hope he has some kind of early onset midlife crisis. The perfect bloody bastard. But what do? Try and break out of the mould we have created for ourselves? Try and be true to ourselves? No, just carry on. Drink it all down. And, most importantly of all, lie through your teeth. We become parodies of piss takes of stereotypes, and there's little chance of escape. And what becomes of you? You are doomed to repeat the cycle all over again. But it is difficult to realise this, given that a bomb's gone off in your head, leaving your brain cells decimated and feeling like a burnt-out husk, wondering where you are and what you did, and just praying that you've learnt enough not to repeat the same terrible cycle all over again.
I told you you'd be back.